Okay, we're doing a repair on a FordBA wagon 94 model. It's got the old dipstick BTR transmission in it. Now what the owner's complaining of, apparently when he's cruising along on the highway under cruise control, occasionally it'll rev up to about 4,000 revs. So it's almost like it's in second gear. I've just taken it for a test run, and there is a lag or a delay going into top gear, third to fourth. If you manually select it, there'll be a slight lag before it engages, doesn't engage into top gear. And also, a couple of times when I took off, I could take off in manual first, and the transmission would upshift up to top gear. So that tells me that the range sensor's playing up, and the other one would be a solenoid is either leaking so much that it needs to build up pressure to apply that valve to go into top gear, or possibly the little plunger in the solenoid is sticking. Anyway, we'll take the oil out and have a look what's floating around in the pan. These ones have a dipstick, so we're going to suck the oil out of there. Makes the job a lot less messy because they don't have a drain plug on the pan. And here we've got the range sensor or the inhibitor switch or the neutral start switch. Just got to check some of these old bangers, they had external adjustments for the bands as well before they had adjustment shims in the transmissions. Just have a quick look for any oil leaks or anything that's gone amiss. Check your unis, front and rear. Good idea to check the diff oil level while you've got it up. Check all the rubber mounts on your exhausts, etc. No oil leak at the extension housing there, at the speedo on this side. Give it a good clean around there and blow out before you take the pan off. Okay, we've got the pan off and you can see all metallic flecks in the filter there. The oil's basically chocolate. And we've got the pan. You can see the mark where the filter inlet is. It's actually accumulated a lot of fine metal there, and you've got the magnet there. So all the solenoids would be thoroughly contaminated. More than likely the solenoids are also worn. The oil has basically darkened, slight burnt smell. Okay, to get these off, one sec, just use these little scribe tool there, and you put it into there's a little hole on the end there, and you'll just pop those plugs off without breaking them. So we're going to take the valve body out of this one and replace all the solenoids, pressure control solenoid, do a service on it, and replace the inhibitor switch or the range sensor as well, and you should be right to go for a little while. Now on these old banger BTR boxes, this spring on the pressure control solenoid, it says damper on it, or dampener. Those springs were prone to breaking as well, so you want to just check, make sure it hasn't broken. And to get the valve body off, they're all T30s except for this one here, and you need to actually remove that. There's a bolt underneath under here that you need to get access to. So just replace the solenoids one by one. The reason why we do that, because you'll notice that they sit at different angles. You don't want that loom hitting the pan or not reaching the terminals properly. Okay, we've replaced all the solenoids. Just a matter of pushing it all back in. You might have a little bit of trouble with the Z-link there on the selector shaft. and make sure you put the Z link in the right way. You can't really muck that up anyway. With your tension wrench, make sure you've got the right one, not the foot-pound. We're talking inch-pound or Newton-metre. And tension up the valve body bolts to about 13 Newton-metre or 120 inch-pound, not foot-pound. Don't forget to put your earth strap on. These looms came with an earth strap. When you're pushing on the terminals, make sure it does click, it locks in, and also make sure that the spade terminals are actually tied on the contacts. Okay, all back together. Just double check your work, especially when you're doing work that you're unfamiliar with. Make sure that the manual linkage is moving nice and freely, like so. And when you put that detent spring on there, just make sure it's running in the middle of that little roll. There's a little roller there, and just make sure it runs evenly in the middle of it. Doesn't rub on the outside. There we go, that's the roller I'm talking about. Should have cleaned the pan rail before now, but we're going to clean that pan rail, take all that road dirt off. Whack a new filter in there, clean the transmission pan. We're going to add because there's so much metal in this one, we're going to add a neodymium magnet to the sump or the pan as well. Now we've got the standard magnet that comes in there. You'll see, won't even hold a 6-7mm open ender on it. It will if you put it on sideways, but on the end it won't. I've got a ring spanner 2426 and an 1819, and I've got the neodymium magnet. You can see that's strong enough to hold everything up there. You can see that. So it's got a much better magnetic field to collect all that rubbish that's floating around in there. Definitely a good investment. Pan's nice and clean, and we're just going to leave the magnets up on that edge. The idea is to get the magnet working top and bottom, so you've got more surface area trying to collect that rubbish. Same with the neodymium magnet that we've added. New filter, pan rail's all nice and clean. We can put the pan back on. Also going to replace this range sensor, so you just press this little clip here and wiggle that plug out. And on the front one, you've got to press that little tang and wiggle it out. And we've got two 8mm headed bolts to take out. These, quite often the shaft will become corroded or rusted on there, so sometimes you end up breaking it to get it off. It's okay. It's also a good idea to just smear a little bit of grease on there, just so it doesn't rust on there. You'll notice that the shaft is rusted a little bit there. We've got the grease on there. Squirt a little bit of WD-40 or CRC in the connection there. You can also remove that one, that's the main plug for the solenoids, and do the same with that. This pan's all back on. Double check your work, make sure everything's done up. Switches there. If you've disconnected the little linkage there to get the valve body out, make sure you put that back on. And we're going to put 5 litres of TQ95 transmission fluid in this one. About 6 litres in it, and it's just a little bit over full. But luckily we've got this one with the filler tube and the dipstick on it. We can suck a little bit out if we need to. I'm just going to take it for a run, test run. We'll come back, check the oil level at operating temperature. I've just been out for a test run, and we've got to take out about 1 centimetre over the top of the hot mark. So there definitely is some improvement. For how long it'll last with all that metal floating around in there, we don't know. But the customer's always the one that makes the decision on what we should do. The transmission fluid's a little bit brighter now as well. But for how long it's going to stay that bright, we don't know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions, leave them in the comments. If you think any of this information is helpful, don't mind a beer. The link's in the description there. Thank you for watching.